Hi. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about what is stateless container and why stateless containers. How does it work? Common use cases and practical examples and some best practices and interview tips. So without further ado, let's enter into the video and have a discussion around it. So what is first of all stateless? Basically, stateless means no memory is previously, sorry, no memory of previous interactions, and whenever you fresh start, every time it runs, okay, it will runs freshly, and no data is stored inside the container itself, and can be destroyed and restarted, sorry, recreated anytime. So what exactly the stateless means? Whenever you restart or recreate a container, the old data won't be available. That is the meaning of entire this. Okay, just a kind of a non-technical example. It is just like a hotel room. You use it temporarily, but don't leave your personal belongings there. The next time the guest, like new guest, gets into a clean room, that to empty room. Okay, so that is the what exactly the stateless. Okay, that means you will go use temporarily, and again you will carry your things and come back, right? So that is the like stateless container actually. Okay, it will start, it will serve the purpose, and it will stop, and that's it. It won't store anything. Okay, and coming to the stateless versus stateful, what exactly the stateless container? Basically, no files are saved inside the container, and can restart safely. Why? Because no data lost will be happened, and multiple copies possible. Like at a time, we can uh, like work with multiple stateful containers. Okay, and data stored elsewhere. That means we are not storing the data in container. That is the meaning of this. And coming to the stateful containers, these are the like pointers regarding the stateless containers. Okay, and coming to the stateful containers, files are stored inside the container and risky to restart. Why? Because data will be lost, and hard to scale. Why? Because um, each container may have different each individual data, right? So it is hard to scale also, and data dies when container uh, restarts along with the container. Let's say if container dies, data also dies. Okay, so that is the stateful container. Okay, sorry, one moment. Data dies with the container. I think in stateful container, data won't dies, right? I need to look on this particular point. I haven't cross-verified this. Okay. Anyhow, moving forward, why stateless containers? Basically, what is the like? Why exactly the stateless containers is required? It is very much easy for scaling. Okay, we can create 10 identical copies instantly of the same container. Okay, and no conflicts between the containers. Handle more users automatically. Like here we do have a container 1, 2, 3, and all these containers are identical and independent. Okay, and it is safe restarts. Okay, so no data loss uh, when restarting. That is the one point. uh, Quick updates and patches. Crash recovery is simple. Okay, and we no need to worry about the data. Okay, like kind of persistent. Okay, and like persistent data is not required. That's what meaning here. Okay, container crashes and new container starts, and like the purpose will be served the same, right? So business continues as normal. There is no like hustle in the service reachability or web application container, it is not, there is no uh, scope of possibility where getting queries like my application is not working like that. Okay. And cloud ready, uh, stateless containers, which is perfect for cloud services like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. And auto scaling is based upon the on demand. Okay. And co-effective resource usage, that is also one of the advantage of stateless containers. Okay. And if you see the cloud platform, like we are running multiple containers, and that too uh, auto scaling. Okay. And moving to the next slide, how does it work? Okay. Let's see where actually the data goes. Okay. And then some practices like where the data not to store, where the data need to store. Okay. So where actually the data goes, obviously the database is MySQL, uh, PostgreSQL, if you are using any of the SQLs, like DB uh, services. And external volumes also, like shared file storage, that is also one of the data storage. And cloud storage also, like AWS S3, Google Drive. And cache system, which is Redis, memcached, message queues, RabbitMQ, Kafka. Okay, like this is where exactly the data goes. Okay, so if you see here, the stateless application external database will be stored in the databases. Okay, so external databases, whatever we have seen, these are the like external databases. And app basically reads or writes a data outside itself. Okay, so basically what it means was it can like whatever the serverless sorry stateless application we do have, it can read and write the data outside itself. Okay, so it was not storing data inside this, but it was storing in the outside, that's what it meaning. Okay. And here is what not to store within a container. Okay, we are not supposed to store user updated files. Why? Because if we store those in a container, if container rebuild or restarted, then the data will be lost. Session data also, configuration changes, log files, database files, cache data, temporary calculations, all will be lost if uh, we store in a stateless container application. Okay. And these are like safe to store in a stateless. Okay, so application code we can store, and static assets we can store where the code base is there. Configuration templates we can store, runtime dependencies we can store. Okay, these are like not required like to maintain persistency for in future. Okay, so these are like good to store, and these are like not good to store. And some common use cases, if you see here, we do have a like application example. uh, we do have a web server which serve HTML, handle the request, and REST APIs we have, which process the data and returns the request, sorry, response. And microservices, which is small and focused service. Batch jobs, which processes the data and exit. Load balancer, which routes the traffic efficiently. So these are the like different web app, API server, auth service, payment API, all talking to a shared database. Okay, so the database will be the shared, and all these services are talking. Okay, so these services won't maintain any kind of data. Okay, that means these are stateless containers. Okay, and coming to the like real-time example, if you see here, there is a e-commerce application which is stateless. I mean, stateless will be web fronted, I mean front end, and product API also will be the stateless. And data will be stored in the product database and user session like Redis cache and social media app, let's say example, like feed API and image processing, which is stateless. It won't store any data, right? And data processed from the uh, posts in database and images in S3. That is where the data stored. And coming to the banking system, it is a serverless, like a transaction API, balance checker. These are like stateless, where it won't uh, store the kind of history activities, and data will be stored like account data in secure database. Okay, so you can think the containers as uh, workers, and database as filing cabins. Okay, cabinets. So workers do the job, actual job, and cabinets keep the records. Okay, so database is like cabinets, and containers are like workers. Okay, so moving forward, here is some practical examples how the stateless web application works. So there is a user who is requesting to show me my shopping cart. Where exactly the shopping cart data is there, which is in database. So the stateless container, which is requesting for the database with the help of API, and then this particular stateless container, which is web app, will uh, I mean, basically, it receives the request and it queries the database and it processes the data and returns a response. And in some cases, whenever there is a API calls, it will does the same. Okay, but here in this particular database, it will queries the database and it will get just okay. Let's say if we have some other information where it shows some climate data. Okay, climate condition. So basically, that will fetches the climate condition through the API and shows in this particular service. Okay, and sorry, and coming to here, containers will be replaced any time. Why? Because there is no data stored in this particular container. We can remove this and run the identical container again. If the container crashes or some updates with the patches, a new a new one starts immediately, and users cart data will be uh, safely stored in the database, and the experience continues seamlessly. Okay, so that means there is no downtime or something. Okay, and coming to the best practices. Okay, so design, like these are the some design best practices. Okay, use the external storage, always store your data outside a container, and environment variables, use your env variables for configurations, not files. Okay, env variables we need to use, and health checks, health checks, we need to implement health endpoints for monitoring purpose, and a graceful shutdown. We are not supposed to forcefully shut down. We need to gracefully shut down. We need to handle the stop signals properly. Okay, and these are the some common mistakes. Okay, so the mistake number one was writing a container file system, writing to container file system. Okay, so we are not supposed to do that. If we do, then obviously we are not maintaining a stateful, so it will lost the data. Okay, and hardening the hard coded the configurations. So this is also one of the mistake where the configuration should not be hard coded. Okay, and storing session data locally. So obviously if you store locally, that means in the container, then the data will be lost. Not hardening container restart. Sorry, not hardening container restarts. So basically, like uh, container restarts which is not specified. Okay, so that is a common mistake. That is also one of the common mistake. Okay, and coming to the some interview questions, like what makes a container stateless. Basically, no data is stored within a container itself. All persistent data lives outside the database volumes, um, and the cloud storages like that. Benefits of stateless design. Uh, it will easy scaling, safe restart, cloud compatibility will be there in stateless, and simplified deployment strategies will be possible in stateless. How do you handle your sessions? Basically, we can store the sessions in external file system like Redis database, or use the stateless token like JWT token. And stateless versus stateful, when to use which. Basically, stateless is for web applications, APIs, microservices, and stateful is for database, file systems, some legacy applications. In that case, stateful set is required. Yeah, I think these are the points I wanted to discuss in this particular video, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you so much for watching the video.